Hello, Good Tree. This is Paul, and I have some answers for some of the questions you might have regarding the creation according to the Bible. So today we're going to cover chapter 15, and the question of the day is, don't creationists believe some wacky things? So oftentimes people who hold the belief that the world was created by God are ridiculed because people assume these Christians are illogical and unintelligent. Now let us look at some of the things Christians are accused of believing. So the first accusation is that biblical creationists believe the earth is flat. So the Bible doesn't teach that the earth is flat. This is an accusation against Christianity without any basis. The humanist group took some biblical passages out of context and imposed a literary meaning on the passage when it should be taken figuratively. So the second thing biblical creationists are accused of is that we don't believe that there are beneficial mutations. So mutations are usually harmful, but there are indeed beneficial ones as well. However, just because something is beneficial doesn't mean it's always good. The book provides a lot of good examples on this one. The third thing biblical creationists are accused of believing is that you can't be a Christian if you don't believe in a young earth. Now, believing in the old earth view does not negate someone's salvation. It is unfortunate that some people include the idea of millions of years to the Bible instead of letting the Bible teach them. But this does not mean that Christians lose their salvation for believing the old earth view. The next thing biblical creationists are accused of believing is that we take the whole Bible literally. Now, some may consider that creationists consider everything in the Bible to be literal, but this is not true. Instead, when we read the Bible, we take a straightforward manner of interpretation, which means we take into consideration the context, the author, and the literary style. For example, when we read the book of Psalms, we take into consideration who the author was, what kind of situation he was in, when he wrote it. We also take into account the verses surrounding the main text. We also take into account the book of Psalms is a poem. So no, we don't take the entire Bible literally, but we acknowledge that the Bible is composed of different literary styles written by different authors. Biblical creationists are also accused of not having any evidence for their position. Now, some may claim that creationists do not have any evidence, but this is not true, because the evidence creationists have is the same as evolutionists. The difference is that both parties have different starting points and beliefs that guide their interpretation of the evidence. Biblical creationists are also accused of believing that the earth is the same now as it was at the beginning of creation. But this is not true. Creationists actually believe that the world has undergone big changes throughout the 6,000 years of history. The two big changes and the two main events is the fall and the flood. So we believe that through the fall, death and suffering entered the world. So before the fall, the world was peaceful and abundant. The flood also changed the world drastically because it caused the continents to separate and because it formed vast portion of sedimentary rock layers around the world. Biblical creationists are also accused of being anti-science and anti-logic. But biblical creationists are not really against logic and science. In fact, many scientists are biblical creationists. Creationists believe that the universe was created by an intelligent God. Therefore, we could investigate how God created the universe. If God was not an intelligent and logical God, and that the world was really just an outcome of random occurrences, then creationists would be against logic and science. But since that's not the case, creationists love science and logic. To conclude, it may seem like creationists believe in all sorts of things, but most of them are not true. People who believe that the world was created by God and that the earth is only a few thousand years old are not dumb and uneducated people who blindly follow what the Bible says.